And she came in for a half-hour session. She asked for medium, but she gave consent for everything. And I just paused for a moment just to see who was coming in, just to see if it was going to be who she asked for. And I wrote down on her piece of paper, I wrote down paternal grandparent, male. So her grandfather on her dad's side. But I said paternal. And when I brought that up, she just kind of looked at me and went, no. But then her grandfather goes, she doesn't even know what it means. Like this. And I thought, oh, this is going to be rough.
This is frequent.
Yes.
Not in the specific paternal example, but it's frequent in the sense that people will say no to something or yes to something they don't even understand.
That's right. And I was super grateful that her grandfather stood right behind her and went, she doesn't even know what you're saying. She doesn't even know what paternal means. And I thought, well, why then? Is there a reason that she's doing that? And he goes, yeah, her ego. And I'm like, oh Lord. Okay. So then I thought, well, I'll explain. I'll just clarify that. And I said to her, so paternal is your dad on your dad's side, right? Like this, just to make sure that she's sitting there actually saying yes a second time, but this time actually knowing what she's agreeing to. So I said that to her, and she just doesn't even bat an eye. She's so good. She's so good at not letting people know what she thinks she is. So that's how the whole session begins. And she says yes, that her grandfather has passed away, and that is exactly who she's come in to see. And so I said, okay, give me a minute. I'm going to see what he wants to say to you today. And I said, or do you want to lead the session and actually direct it and ask him the questions? Because you can certainly do that. You can have control of the entire session. And she goes, no, like this. And he goes like this to me and rolls his eyes like, really? She doesn't want control? Really? And again, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I can't laugh
at an egotistical person.
And I can't laugh at the grandfather's antics to try and lighten the session for me and still give me the information with accuracy. So she says that's fine. So I listened to him, and boy, did he have a mouthful to say. And the way that he begins this whole story is, Karen, she thinks like she's my favorite grandchild. And I'm like, okay.
That would make sense.
And I said, does she have a reason? And he goes, 100%. And he says, she believes that we are besties and that she's more important than my wife or my kids or anything in my world. And he says, but that's because that's exactly how I treated her. And he says, I can't get to the apology yet. I can't even get to really explaining this because I regret the way that I treated her since I've died. But she has no idea because right to my death, I carried out this whole charade. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to give me an order. You're going to have to give me the way to present this to her. And he says, well, ask her for permission first for me to be able to describe her personality to her. And that in doing so, I'm here to prove that it is me because she believes that I'm the only one that knows her. She believes that I'm the only one that understands her and that gets her. And that's why she's here. She's grieving because I'm her only person. And I'm like, why would you be her only person? Does she not have parents and siblings? Yes. And I said, well, how did you fuck that up that badly? And he says, he gives me this look like, well, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. And I said, well, you did. Like, you totally fucked that up. You isolated her from her own family? And he's like, yes. But it's interesting because he's learning what he's done. He just doesn't realize that another human would actually know all of that. Because it is so beyond his comprehension when he was a human being to think that anybody could be educated to know it.
Two peas in a pod.
Well, yes. And I mean, you get that way when you refuse therapy. You get that way when you refuse to read a fucking book.
She's bringing out the sass today.
Oh, yeah. And like, the sass really had to come out.
Yeah.
Because, like, he's really buried a very young woman at a very young age. And has her alienated, has her on a path of destruction, of ruining a marriage or a partnership, friendships, careers. Like, he so enabled her that whenever her parents tried to confront her, and they did, he sided with her. He knew exactly how to, what he referred to as dealing with Zoe.